Hello, you're listening to the Read Anything Lately podcast. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Jason.
I'm your gayer, sassier host.
And I'm your straighter, more down-to-earth host.
And here we are in the Anthony Cumia studios at the top of the Empire State Building, recording the next episode of our extremely regular podcast, Read Anything Lately.
We're actually in my dorm room.
Well, you don't have to ruin it. This question might become relevant later in the podcast. Jason, have you had a birthday recently? Are you 19 now?
No, but I will have my birthday in about 4 months.
Well, okay, I'm having mine in 2 months. So okay, we're both 18. Remember that it'll become important later.
Okay. Well, we also were in the last episode.
Well, yes, but it will nonetheless be a little important later.
So, Isaac.
Yeah.
Time for I believe the word is eponymous?
Or eponymous?
Well, would it be titular?
No, it's the eponymous question.
It is time for the eponymous question that our viewers have not heard, or listeners have not heard in so long.
God.
Isaac.
Yes.
Have you read anything lately?
I so regret that I was the one to come up with this stupid slogan. God, this is going to be so old when we're doing it in episode 500. If it's already old, what is this, episode 8?
I think so, or 7.
God damn. Alright, yes, I have read something lately. So over Christmas break, I got a book. I received a book for Christmas. And I mean, whoever receives anything else for Christmas, right? I got it from my mother, and it was to fulfill an item on my wish list, which was a book that I would never think to buy myself in a million years.
I should ask for something like that next Christmas. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that was on my wish list. A book I would never think to buy for myself in a million years. So my mom got me a bound collection of the Barrytown Trilogy by Roddy Doyle. Mm-hmm. And I wish I could do the little, nickname in quotes thing where I could say by Roddy Doyle with air quotes in the middle, but I actually don't know his real first name. I assume it's Roderick, but I don't know. So the Barrytown Trilogy is 3 novels written by Roddy Doyle in something like 1987, 1989, and 1991. I don't know exactly the years. They were made into 3 movies shortly afterward. The Commitments was pretty successful. The Snapper was extremely successful, and if The Van was made into a movie, nobody watched it. And that's actually a pretty good description of the quality of the books as well. The Commitments is really good, The Snapper is amazing, and The Van is okay.
But they're all better than average.
They're all better than, The Van might just be average, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And if you're using this purely as a book recommendation podcast and you're thinking, if you're in the airport and you're about to get on the plane, you just want to know, I want to read a book right now. The books have no necessary continuity. You should just go out and get The Snapper and read it right now, and your life will be immediately and substantially improved.
And then after that, you can read the other 2 for completionist's sake.
Yeah. But I read them in order. And I think the way to do this, Jason, is to start with maybe an overview of all the books, going a little bit into each one, mm-hmm. Giving a very, very brief summary of each one, and then maybe discussing them one by one, and then maybe discussing them as a group again.
That makes sense. Should we start with maybe the meta context, or should we go with the books themselves?
I think, starting with some of the brief meta context. Ireland in the late 80s, early 90s was not doing great. Everyone in the urban areas is having trouble. It is a big theme of the book that everyone in Barrytown is looking for work and nobody has a job, and nobody is earning as much money as they want to, and money is tight these days, and they don't make anything like they used to. Mm-hmm. The 21st century is coming to Ireland, and it's carrying a stick with nails in it.
Yeah.
And this sort of the books are not. I don't want to give the impression that these are dreary, sad, awful books, because I think that's probably what you're imagining right now is, it's, any foreign book that becomes successful in America is always the dreariest. unless it's from England. It's always the dreariest tragedy. I don't know what effect causes that, but no book gets out of Germany or Ireland or Japan into America by being nice.
I mean, I think it's just because, from what I've seen, tragedy tends to sell better than comedy is because people think that tragedies are deeper and more impactful, and they generally are, so they become more popular outside of their home country.
But these are not really particularly tragic books. There is a sort of backdrop of desperation, but the books are very funny. They're very enjoyable. They have a lot of heart. They have a lot of jokes.
It's just kind of people living their lives, right?
Yeah. If you want to read a book where you will meet a hero and a villain who will have a conflict with a climax, and then the hero will win and live happily ever after, don't read these books. These books are about things happening and then stopping. It's more like watching a season of a television show than like reading an epic or a tale, you know?
Mm-hmm.
These are very much stories about things that could have really happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to very briefly describe the plot of each book, and then I'm going to go through them in order in more depth. The Commitments is about three guys who are going to start a rock band. Their rock band is called And. But one of them, I think Outspan Foster, he has a real first name. They call him Outspan after a breed of orange, and I don't remember why.
What?
I think he's got like kind of orangey skin or something. But he's the guitarist, and he knows a guy, Jimmy Rabbit Jr., and all the people in this story are like, when I say this is a story about kids in Barrytown, they're all probably my age. Yeah. They're all, 18 or 19 or 20.
They're kids from the perspective of older people, but they are technically adults.
Yeah. And in the Commitments, all these people you will meet, pretty much everyone in the Commitments is neither going to school nor do they have a job. Because that's sort of the economic climate that they're in.
Yeah.
But so Outspan, he knows this guy, Jimmy Rabbit Jr., who is a music freak, who is obsessed with music, and he says, we should ask him how to do this rock band. We should go to him about it. So they go to Jimmy Rabbit Jr. and they say, hey, help us with our band. And Jimmy Jr. moves in like a thunderstorm and just completely reorients their entire band. The first thing he says is, if you want me to be involved with this band, I don't remember the guy's name, it's like Randy or something. He says, Randy's got to be out. I hate him. He's an asshole. Oh, by the way, these books are full of the most foul-mouthed swearing you will ever see. He does not use the word asshole. He uses a word that we don't really even use in this country. It's been outlawed by an international weapons treaty. It exists mostly in Ireland and Australia.
Okay.
Where it is rated as heavy ordnance for military use only.
I mean, that makes sense. This book is about people living their lives. They have no real need to I don't know. It's a bit more realistic to just have people talking that way.
Yeah, and the realism of the dialogue is astonishing. Roddy Doyle is a generational talent at writing dialogue. And specifically realistic human dialogue. Like Jane Austen writes great dialogue, and William Shakespeare writes great dialogue, but it doesn't sound anything like how people really talk.
Yeah.
It's great for other reasons. I mean, if you've ever read Elmore Leonard, he's that level or even above that level. And the things his characters say are immensely, immensely funny. One of the first lines of The Commitments is that Outspan sees that Jimmy has some heavy metal album, and I don't remember the full name of the album, except that it includes the word fetus in it. And Outspan says, fetus, that's the little fella inside the woman, isn't it? And Jimmy says, yes, that's right. The little fella inside the woman. Isn't that just an amazing little feat of humor to write that?
Yeah.
So Jimmy comes in, he requires that they get rid of that guy, and he brings in 9 more people, and he changes the name of the band from And to The Commitments, and he changes their genre from rock to soul music.
So he completely upends the band and just
Yeah.
rearranges it entirely.
As soon as he realizes he has this raw material to work with, he's like, screw you guys, I'm just going to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Jr. is a great character. He's an almost Shakespearean character in that he's extremely archetypal while also being very complex. And he's a great personality and he drives the whole story. The other major character I want to mention before we move on to the Snapper is Joey the Lips Fagin. Joey Fagin is probably 45, and they meet him in a way where, even though I knew it was not this kind of book, even though I knew there's nothing supernatural going on in this book, I thought, is this guy supposed to be an angel?
Yeah.
Because he literally rides up on his bicycle, like, out of nowhere, and is just like, I heard you're starting a soul band, I want in. Joey the Lips, almost all soul musicians adopt some kind of nickname, like, Fats Waller or Charlie the Bird Parker, or whatever. So he's Joey the Lips Fagin. And Joey is, again, he's like 45. He claims he has these outlandish, possibly true, possibly false claims to fame, to have played with almost every major group of musicians in the world. He's a trumpeter, and he says that in that Beatles song that goes, all you need is love, wah, 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 that he's the guy who plays that wah, 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 wah on the trumpet. That was him. That's one of his main claims to fame. So he wants in on the band, and he tells them how a soul band should be organized, because Jimmy Jr. is very enthusiastic and he knows a lot about music, but he's never played soul music or been in a soul band in his life. A lot of people in this book are impossible to tell apart. There's one more member of the band who really matters. It's, I think, Desmond, and he's a guy who they hear singing at a wedding, and they say that what he's singing almost sounds like music, and so they get him to be their singer, and they all hate him.
Yeah.
So that's basically the plot of the Commitments. And when Roddy Doyle wrote that book, I don't think he was imagining he was going to write 2 more books about this family. So while the other 2 books are very much about the whole Rabbit family, this one is not really about all of them. The next 2 are. So in The Snapper, the opening scene is we're with Sharon Rabbit. She's 19 or 20. She's younger than Jimmy Jr. She's the next child down on the age ladder. And I think when it opens, she's like standing on a dock or at the edge of a river or something, looking wistfully at the horizon. And then she goes inside to her parents and tells them she's pregnant. And the Snapper is an Irish dialect word. The book is basically called The Baby. And the central tension of the Snapper is that she will not tell anyone, including her parents, who the father of the baby is.
Yeah.
And the book is... It's kind of like a police procedural, almost. In that... it's got the feeling of the situation is essentially a constantly evolving one that's constantly presenting new problems.
Yeah.
In a sense, sort of unexpected, unwanted pregnancy is the villain, and it keeps on intruding into everybody's lives, and they keep on having to deal with it. And most of all, the story is about the social ramifications of this, because it's the 80s, and
a child being born out of wedlock is
yeah,
exactly a thing most people are going to be happy about.
Right. In sort of lower class urban Ireland, it's probably less of a big deal than it is in 21st century upper class America. There's a great... Roddy Doyle is great at this, at producing a feeling without telling you what it is, because he never says this in narration. But shortly after Sharon tells her parents she's pregnant, they're kind of like, well, all right, yeah, what's for dinner, There's a feeling of, like, if you imagine the moments after your 19-year-old daughter who lives at home telling you she's pregnant and telling you she's not going to tell you who the father is, you kind of imagine that you're just going to be in a state of heightened emotion or of shock forever. But it's actually going to last 15 minutes, and then you're still going to have dinner that evening.
Yeah, it's like... Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Fine. Whatever. All right. What's for dinner? What's for dinner?
There's very much a feeling of like, all right, you're pregnant, great, let's, I guess the world is still here. Like,
Yeah.
I kind of pictured being shocked at that and then the world exploding and ending, but in fact, Earth is still going around the sun, and I still have work tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guess we're all just gonna move on with our lives.
It's like, and I think that's actually kind of a realistic depiction. It's like, you know, the whole series is about people just going about their lives, and in reality, it's like something like that would be, yeah. I mean, it's a big thing. It's something that, you know, the whole family's going to be like nervous or worried about. But at the end of the day, you still gotta like eat dinner, go to work, you know, take a shower, do your laundry. Like, the world doesn't stop moving when something bad happens.
Yeah.
You just have to find a way to keep up, almost.
Yeah. So that's the Snapper. The Snapper is, I have said, it's probably the best. It's probably the most successful. I think it's been read by the most people. I think the movie has been seen by the most people. The movie of The Snapper was quite successful. It was made into a movie. The only actor I know in it is that Colm Meaney plays the dad.
Mhm.
If you've ever watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, or Deep Space Nine, Colm Meaney plays Miles O'Brien, the head engineer. And he's very likable.
I think it's pronounced column, actually.
Colm? Yeah, Colm Meaney.
Yeah.
He's also in Con Air. He plays a federal agent. But he's a delight. I haven't seen the movie. I'm sure he's great in it. Because he's great in everything, and everybody loves him, and rightly so. The van is, okay. The Commitments and The Snapper are very short books. The Commitments is 150 pages. The Snapper is maybe 200. The van is longer. It's maybe 250 or 280 pages. It's also less focused in the way that The Commitments is about people starting a soul music band, and the first scene is some people who want to start a band sitting in one of their bedrooms talking about starting a band.
Yeah.
And the way that The Snapper is about a girl who's pregnant, and the first scene is that she's pregnant and telling her parents about it.
Yeah.
That is not the kind of book The Van is.
It starts off very slowly then.
The Van, yeah. The Van is about two guys starting a fish and chips van, and it probably takes 100 pages before we see the van. The book opens on Jimmy Sr. because as we move through the books, we move the eye of focus from one character and the family to another. We go from Jimmy Jr. to Sharon to Jimmy Sr. And when the book opens, he has lost his job. He was a plasterer, and now he's fired.
I mean, I think that's kind of like a relevant place to start. Like, the whole reason they need that van in the first place is because, you know, he just lost his job.
Yeah. So he's lost his job. We spend a lot of time on how he spends his days unemployed, like how he makes 16 hours go away every day. Have you seen that Simpsons episode where they move to that like rich neighborhood and Marge has like a housekeeper and she's like just sitting there like, what do I do all day now?
I don't think I've seen that one.
It's very much like that scene with Marge. Like Jimmy, you know, he works as a plasterer, he's been fired, and he's like, well, what the hell do I do with my job? What do I do?
Yeah, like, do I just sit at home all day? Like, no, my family needs me.
Yeah, but then he's like, what do I do? In The Snapper, we meet the groups of friends of two members of the family. We meet Sharon's friends. Two of their names I don't remember. One of them is Yvonne Burgess. And then the other two, I don't remember their names. We also meet Jimmy's friends, Jimmy Sr.'s friends, his drinking buddies. And one of them is this guy, Bertie, who is, I don't know if he's a criminal or if he's just like a criminal. Bertie affects a sort of Latin or Spanish speaking style. He's not actually Latino, I don't think, but he drops random Spanish words into his speech. He calls people his amigos and senor.
Yeah.
One of the scenes in, I think, The Snapper is he says to all of the other guys, he says, how many kids have you got? And they're like, why did you ask? And he says, well, it just happened that, a bunch of calculators fell off a truck. And he's like, so now I've got 50 calculators. How many do each of you need? How many kids you got in school? And they all say how many, and he gives them that many calculators. And it's like, Did they fall off a truck? I wonder.
Yeah, or like where? And if they didn't, then where did he get them?
Right. We don't know. He does seem like a dubiously legal person. He seems like he kind of exists on the fringes of legality.
Mm.
He has a drinking buddy, Patrick, who is kind of this big, hulking, kind of very serious. You know, you kind of picture him talking like Richard Nixon. And then he's also got a friend, Bimbo Reeves, who's this very kind of shy, innocent kind of guy. You know, he still gets drunk and he swears and so on. I mean, I'm not saying he isn't Irish, but that was racially prejudiced to say.
Of course.
But he was, or at least ethnically prejudiced. But you know, he is still like an adult man in the modern world. But he's kind of innocent and kind of shy and retiring and pleasant. The premise of the van is that after Jimmy loses his job as a plasterer, he starts to drift apart with his friends because he can't afford the frivolity of spending money on alcohol, and so he can't really find an excuse to go to the bar, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed by the other guys having to pay for his drinks. So he stops seeing his friends. But then Bimbo loses his job as a baker. I don't know why they call him Bimbo. It is eventually revealed in the van, and it's revealed right at the end of the van. But, okay, he has a real name. He has a real first name, and there's nothing embarrassing about it. It's a completely normal, real first name for an Irish man to have.
Yeah.
There's nothing at all embarrassing or unusual about it. So I don't know why he goes by Bimbo. It's never explained where he got that nickname.
I mean, maybe it was just like, I don't know, like a nickname someone else gave him that stuck.
Yeah. So Bimbo Reeves loses his job. He's a baker. He loses his job.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's an old beat up. They talk to each other because they start hanging out because now they both don't have jobs. They start hanging out and they say, "Hey, have you noticed that the fish and chips van hasn't been around in a couple of months? Because in Ireland and England, the standard street food is not the hot dog van but the fish and chips van, or the hot dog stand rather. It's the fish and chips van, just a food truck full of hot oil that drives around, and you can get." They repeat these menu items so many times in the book: small chip, large chip, chip and cod, chip and burger, or chip and spice burger. You can get, something hot to pour into your face so you feel like you've eaten. And they're like, the guy hasn't been around in a couple of months. Like, that guy just kind of disappeared. And also there's a junkyard selling an old fish and chips van that's absolutely covered in grease, absolutely disgusting, filthy, has no tires, just completely beat up.
I wonder if there's a connection.
Well, we never actually find out if there's a connection. I don't know if it is the same van.
Well, how would it not be the same van?
I don't know. Well, it would be surprising for the van to get that dirty and lose all its tires in just a couple of months. We don't know.
I guess.
We never find out what happened to the old fish and chips guy, but they go down to the junkyard. And Bimbo Reeves buys the van for $800 in cash. Or, do they use dollars in Ireland? I feel like they say dollars in the book. Maybe it's pounds, whatever. The point is they buy it for a pretty small amount of money in cash. And then...
$800 for a whole van.
Yeah. So they... one of the critical facts of this book is that Bimbo pays for the van. And then they push it to his house... in one of the most painful to read scenes in literature. It's so unpleasant. It's like a hot day. The van is covered in grease, and it's like a 2-ton vehicle on 4 flat wheels, and they're just pushing it up the street to his house.
How far do they have to push it?
It's like, I think the guy selling it is at one end of the street, and Bimbo's house is at the other end of the street.
Oh, okay. At least it's not okay.
At least it's not like all across town.
Yeah.
They got like the whole family to help push it. And the big conflict of the van, basically, is that they're friends, but also business partners. And it's very difficult for them to be both of those things at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's... Man, that took longer than I thought. We're already almost halfway through this episode. But, okay, so this is sort of an interview-style show. And, we should get to the juicy insights.
Yeah.
Just start questioning me about the commitments. Just, let's let's get a discussion rolling on this book.
What would you say, like, so I could tell there are, like, general themes across all three of these of, like, family and sort of friendship and getting through bad situations, like we said, like, through the help of other people. Would you say there are any sort of, like, themes or ideas or messages that are, like, exclusive to the commitments?
Yeah. So the problem is, I was thinking about this in the shower yesterday, that even sort of the basic theme or the basic idea of the commitments is only clear to someone who has read it. Like it's sort of like imagine trying to discuss the message of Star Wars without revealing that Luke has to stop using the machine and trust himself.
Yeah.
Like you kind of have to know how it ends to really talk about it. But the commitments is Alfred Lord Tennyson has something about the crack in the lute, the instrument. That it's like gradually grows and eventually silences all or something. It's the little crack that gets bigger and bigger, because the commitments is, only K-pop and boy bands are made of carefully selected people put together by a professional. Most bands are basically whoever happened to be in the fridge when the proverbial chef decided to cook up a band. It's just whoever can play an instrument and is around.
Yeah.
And whoever knows each other, they just make a band.
Like, it's not a matter of careful selection or, like, deep friendships that form into a band. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you can play the drums, right? We need a drummer. Like, get in here, man. We'll pay you $20 a week.
Or even, you can't play the drums, but you seem like you might be able to learn.
Yeah.
Like Outspan, when the story starts, Outspan cannot play the guitar. There's a great scene of Outspan learning to play the guitar that is... I felt as though Roddy Doyle had been spying on me. Like, it's exactly what learning the guitar is like.
Yeah.
He's watching himself in the mirror, looking at his strumming hand. It's great. But so the commitments is kind of about how there's this soul music band, and it takes like half the book before they even play a gig. But from the outside, they just look like a band. You don't even really think about the fact that it's made of people. But they have all these troubles. That they all hate each other, or there's a lot of them that hate each other. There's a lot of these cracks, and you watch them grow and grow and worsen and worsen. And there's all these reasons why they're
just not really right for each other.
Yeah. And it's all this stuff behind the scenes. You can see all these as soon as they get backstage, there's all these problems between them.
Yeah.
And I mentioned Joey and Desmond. They're two big factors in it, because it's kind of spoilers to say what's up with Joey or why they don't like him, but he is he's kind of a chaotic element. I mean, everyone else in the band is like 18 to 20. He's like 45.
Yeah.
He's actually been in soul music bands.
Like, he's the only guy there who, like, really knows what he's doing.
And he's kind of like I said, he's kind of an apparition. He just kind of appears out of nowhere. He almost seems to symbolize the unknown element. He just sort of pops out of the orange-colored sky, and here he is.
Yeah.
And the other one is Desmond, because Desmond is an asshole. They all hate him. He sucks. He's a jerk. But he's the only one who can really sing.
Yeah. Like, they don't like him, but they need him.
Right. That's... And in fact, the other big problem, I would say, is Jimmy Jr., who is the only one who understands how to make a band or how to succeed in the music industry. So the idea is that when you have a group of talented people, there is a problem that you don't need to be nice to learn how to do things.
Mm-hmm.
And so Desmond can be a very good singer and an insufferable person at the same time. And then it's damned if you do and damned if you don't, because if you make him leave, the band is over. And if you let him stay, the band is over.
Yeah, like, and I think that's kind of an interesting dilemma of, like, this guy is really good at what he does, and you need him for this specific task. And I think this could really apply to like anything that requires like a group of people, where it's like, this guy is one of the only people who knows what he's doing, and we really need him. But he's also a massive like he is a jerk. Like we don't like him. He's gonna tear this group apart if we don't like do something about him. But if we do something about him, then either we gotta find a new singer or we're just not a band anymore.
Yeah. Right. And so that is a big part of what the commitments is about. It's this the almost strangling feeling of how can we it's almost like amputating a limb to save a patient. Like parts of this group are gangrenous and will kill the patient if we allow them to exist. But the act of removal could itself be fatal. And we're not doing this with modern surgery. We got a saw and a bucket of tar. Like it's all this very rough. I won't say who, but of the three people I mentioned, at least one of them is successfully amputated and replaced without destroying the group. They happen to find a guy who is also a very good singer and can whatever. They find a guy who can replace Desmond. Yes, they do. They end up replacing Desmond with a different singer. But the point is that it is possible to save a band or any group of people that is in this situation. But there's almost a feeling of being chased to the commitments. It's this live fast, die young, like the desperate attempt to get any years of success before your own tail catches up with you and destroys your band. And every band is a race against time to seize any success and to make any albums before the fact that you all hate each other destroys the group.
Like how long the whole the main question a band asks you is not how well can you play, it's how long can you stand these insufferable assholes before you have to leave.
Yeah. This episode is just, I think because of the nature of the work, going to be higher in profane language for those of you who like your before the episode warnings to occur 32 minutes in.
Yeah.
Roddy Doyle, once again, I want to say, is a master of dialogue. There's a line, it contains a profane, an obscene, offensive word, but I'm going to say it. It's a bad word that we've already said on this episode. That it's just another example. He uses profanity very well because most authors really make a very lazy use of profanity.
Yeah.
I wrote a manuscript called Wit's End, which is about criminals. And at the end of it, I basically went through and I reduced every swear by one full step of intensity, and it made everything so much better. Roddy Doyle is one of the few authors who can, like how there's only a few authors who can use exclamation points well. Mm-hmm. He's one of the only authors who really uses his swears. And at one point, someone says this guy, I don't remember his name, is a jerk. And he says, when we were kids, we were playing soccer or something, we were playing outside, and he fucked a rock at my head. And the word fucked has somehow replaced the word thrown completely naturally. Or I guess the word threw. And he's full of these, even if I were to completely spoil the entire plot of the Commitments, if you're going to spend an entire hour telling you every minute detail of everything that happens, it would still not be half the experience of actually reading that book.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a good kind of book, because you can explain it all you want, but the true appeal for the book comes from the dialogue and the descriptions and how it's actually written.
Yeah. The books, I would say, have a near total reliance on dialogue, especially the Commitments. The Commitments is basically just dialogue, with occasional intrusions of narration. Each book has less dialogue than the last, but the Commitments is almost entirely dialogue, and Roddy Doyle, in a very typically Irish way, is all about dialogue. So you get, and it's very good dialogue. It can be hit or miss with that kind of thing. There's all sorts of moments where you interpret a line, you understand what was said, and you would not be able to say how. he never uses adverbs to attribute dialogue, yet somehow you can tell when someone is saying something sarcastically.
Yeah.
Like a typical line, I feel like there's a lot of moments in The Snapper where somebody basically says to another member of the family, like, how would you feel if I took the last Oreo? And they said, I'd disown you or something. And it's like, even when it's more ambiguous than that, you get that it's sarcastic and it's bantering. And it's hard to say how he pulls that off without ever using a dialogue attribution other than said or ever modifying said with an adverb.
I mean, it sounds a lot like context clues, I think. It's
Yeah.
relying on the audience to be... It's relying on the audience to be both smart enough and to have enough social grace to realize, oh, wait a minute, they're being sarcastic.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, they're angry.
Yeah.
Like, the author shouldn't have to explain that half the time. Like, if the author can't convey that a character is upset or happy or sad, really just through context clues and the actual dialogue, then, like, that dialogue should probably, undergo a bit of revision.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally, like, I don't mind adverbs as much, but I do agree with the idea of, like, if you can, it is better to, I don't want to say, well, it's sort of like the concept of, like, show, don't tell.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to do that with literature, but this is, like, the closest thing you can do. It's, like, you don't have to say that a character is mad, but you can sort of just imply through the dialogue that they are.
Yeah. So, before I get into The Snapper, I want to detour into, because he said something interesting that the Irish novel basically assumes the audience is smart and understands how people talk.
Yeah.
And this is why I've never really liked the American novel. Almost all of my favorite books are English and Irish. I don't really like the American novel, and I think I know why. Most American authors basically assume that you're stupid and that you only like crap. Like, your average American novel is pre-digested. It's like
It's like fast food.
Or I was going to go with an even grosser analogy, that the average American novel is like the contents of the mother bird's stomach that is regurgitated into the baby bird's beak.
That works.
It feels as though the author has tried to do all of your thinking for you. Possibly the greatest offender here is Stephen King. If you ever read a scene in a Stephen King book where a big guy fights a little guy, he'll really make sure to remind you that it's an uneven fight between a big guy and a little guy. He won't just say that the big guy punches the little guy. He'll devote 3 full sentences to reminding you how much bigger the big guy is than the little guy. And it's like, we get it. Yes, we know
the little guy is gonna win.
Well, or just we know that this is an uneven fight. We know this is an unequal situation. We get it. Like, and really, Stephen King is the worst offender of all time with this. He cannot mention a character without reminding you of all their attributes in order, or of anything that has happened earlier in the story without explaining it in great detail. It's why his books are so long. But American authors are almost always guilty of this. Stephen King does this. Edith Wharton in her way, even though she's a very good author, very good one of the few American authors I actually like. Especially the writers of sort of popular fiction, Stephen King and Thomas Harris and the Patrick Lee and those kind of guys. But even literary fiction, Ernest Hemingway seems to have a lot of trouble mentioning Robert Cohn without someone telling you that he's a wimp. It has to be mentioned every time. Robert Cohn, who was a bit of a wimp and the other guys didn't really like him, said, it's like, we get it. Like, you already told us that at the beginning.
And I mean, it could kind of be implied by whatever he's about to say that he is a wimp and that no one really likes him.
Yeah. Elmore Leonard is one of the only American authors who doesn't really do this. But yeah, the Irish novel just sort of says, well, it can be if the American novel is regurgitated worm paste, then the Irish novel is more like bird seed. You're allowed to, you have to eat the pebbles to put into your gizzard so you can digest this. Like, you have to be, have to exercise some of your human intellect to understand what's going on in Barrytown.
Or, like, it's assumed that sort of those pebbles are already in your gizzard.
Yeah. there's a certain baseline intelligence and a certain baseline effort you're assumed to be putting in Barrytown.
Or it's like if you're reading a book, then you're expecting to be entertained, but whoever's writing the book is expecting you to like, hey, look, if you're reading my book, there's a bit of work I need you to do, and that work is knowing how people talk.
Yeah.
Knowing how people think, and being able to remember a detail from like 2 pages ago.
And, yeah. So, and I don't want to imply by this that Barrytown, the trilogy, I don't know if I've mentioned this, that's the name of the trilogy. Barrytown is the name of all these 3 books. They take place in Barrytown, Ireland, which is a fake town. But these books are not hard to read syntactically. They're not like Dickens, where you're kind of untangling a sentence with knitting needles.
Yeah.
It's an extremely soft, extremely easy style.
I mean, at least from what I've seen, I think if you like Cormac McCarthy's later work, then you'll like this.
If you liked, especially Stella Marie, which is 50,000 words of dialogue and 3 words of narration.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's a paragraph of narration at the start. We've talked about this book.
You can hear more about Stella Marie in episode
4, I think.
Yeah.
3 or 4. Look, the thumbnail will have Stella Marie in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you like, because it's not hard to understand. It's not that there's difficulty in untangling the sentences. I would not be confident that Doyle uses a metaphor at any point in the 3 books, or any word that is not in the top 10,000 most used words of the English language. It's just that the dialogue assumes that you will be putting an effort to understand it.
Yeah, it's not going to hold your hand. It's not going to do the easy part for you. It's expected that if you're picking up this book, like if you took it off the shelf, there's some implicit understanding that like when you read this book, you're gonna understand it, and it's not gonna hold your hand.
Yeah.
Like it's not even, from what you're saying, it doesn't even sound like it's asking for much.
No, it doesn't ask for much. It asks for more than most American authors ask for, but most American authors basically ask that you have the manual dexterity to turn a page.
Yeah.
And the eyeball coordination to scrub your eyeballs along the words.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example of the kind. I won't tell you which book it's in or at which point. If I told you which book it's in or at which point, it would be kind of spoilers. But if I just describe it, it won't be. Jason is now using an X-Acto knife to remove some gunk from part of a Warhammer figurine.
Sorry.
And,
I'm paying attention.
Yeah, I know. So, there's another guy named Desmond. It's not the same Desmond in the Commitments. But Jimmy Sr. and Bimbo are talking about him. And Jimmy Sr. is trying to convince Bimbo that he doesn't know who this guy is. And then when the guy walks out of the room, Jimmy Sr., he says something like, do you hear what Des said there? And Bimbo's only response to that is, Des? And you can infer what he means there, like, you know this guy.
Yeah.
But
like that is an oddly that is a strange thing to call someone you don't know.
Right. It does not say Des, Bimbo said, implying that, he doesn't, he trusts that by the repetition of 3 letters of dialogue in the right context, you will infer what Bimbo means and the evidence he's giving to support it. Des. And that's the thing. He doesn't say the tone of voice. There's a couple of ways you can read that line. He doesn't say any of them. You can read it as like, Des, or like, Des. But the point is that you can infer how he's meant to be saying it.
Yeah.
And it works. So, The Snapper. The Snapper is about Sharon, and it's also about Jimmy Sr., because it's very much about that sort of father-daughter relationship, which is an interesting one to see because you don't really see much of the father-daughter relationship, I feel, in books.
Yeah.
You get sort of the Taken feeling, in the movie. The movie Taken, it is Liam Neeson's daughter, right? Gets kidnapped by human traffickers or something.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. But what I've heard is that Liam Neeson's daughter gets kidnapped by human traffickers, but he's an ex-Special Forces agent and he hunts them down and kills them.
Something, I have a very special set of skills.
Yeah,
skills that make men like you terrified of men like me.
Yeah. The point is that you sometimes get that. You sometimes get the daughter has to be saved by the father. But that is not really what the Snapper is about. Sharon does not really need saving. Most of the problems that crop up as part of her pregnancy, she's able to deal with herself.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of the father-son relationship and a lot of the mother-son relationship, and at least within a certain specialized market, you can find hundreds of books on the mother-daughter relationship. I mean, just go to the TAN in the fiction section, and you'll find 6 books by Amy Tan that are all about specifically the Chinese immigrant mother-daughter relationship. There's a whole world of literature out there if you want the mother-daughter or the father-son relationship.
But yeah, and that's actually really interesting. It's like you don't really get the. I mean, I can like. You don't really get the like a father daughter or a mother son. I feel like you see the mother son even less.
Really?
I think like father daughter. I've at least like seen that for example in both the video game and the TV show like The Last of Us.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
and isn't that an adoptive?
Yeah, it's more like an adoptive.
But it still works.
Yeah, it's like you see that a bit more often, but I think that's kind of I like that. It's like it's not always something that's fully explored. Like sometimes it's something that's hinted at. But it's rarely, you're right, I've rarely seen it be like the whole focus of like a story. But like usually it is, yeah, like mother-daughter or father-son.
But yeah, so the book is very much about Jimmy Sr. and about Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
And their relationship to each other and how they talk and so on. And so Jimmy is an interesting character. Jimmy Sr. is a very interesting character. He is he's a very big player in the Snapper. He's like second billing in the Snapper.
I think you described him to me, or do you want to describe him?
I'll describe him. He's second billing in the Snapper. He's first billing in the van. Jimmy Sr. is like if you could imagine why Marge ever married Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
He is, in many ways, he is kind of an unlikable character. He's kind of lazy, he's kind of drunk, he's kind of foul-mouthed, he's rude, but he has a very nice soul deep down in a way that, okay, we are supposed to like Homer Simpson because we are supposed to believe that deep down he cares for his family. And this works because Homer is a cartoon character.
Yeah.
In the way that Wile E. Coyote, we can believe that he really wants to eat the Roadrunner. Or that we believe, theoretically, that Wile E. Coyote is actually hungry.
Yeah.
But if Wile E. Coyote was a real person, he would go to Acme Roasted Roadrunner and just buy a roasted bird and eat it. But because we understand that Wile E. Coyote is a cartoon character, we believe that this is his action. That we believe that these actions conform to this archetype, even though they do not.
Yeah, like this is necessary almost.
Yeah.
Like this story would not be able to happen without this kind of thing.
Homer's actual behavior is that of a completely self-serving, sociopathic, sadistic, selfish jerk. But because he is a cartoon character, I mean, just as Lisa is impossible to believe as an actual 8-year-old, we can look at Homer's behavior, we can believe that he's a loving family man because he's a cartoon character, and so his actions don't really have to suit his archetype in the same way that a real person's do.
Yeah.
But Jimmy Sr. is like real Homer Simpson, so he's really a nice guy. He is deep down, he's a good, nice, honest, loving person. I would not fault someone who said they did not like Jimmy Sr. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm. Sort of a polarizing character.
I don't know if he is polarizing. I think most people probably like him, but I would understand someone who didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He's very stereotypically male in a lot of ways, but this is a long shot. But those of you who have read Dave Barry's essay on men versus guys, he says, men equals pit bull terrier, guys equals golden retriever. He has kind of an obsession, a feeling of like Old Spice masculinity about him. Like he loves drinking beer with his buddies and having sex with his wife and, you know, watching the football games on the telly or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But really his conflict is not that he has to save Sharon from anything or protect Sharon from anything. He takes a role in the main plot. I won't get into what the main plot is, but basically there's a big problem that arises because there's a couple of big problems that arise because of Sharon's pregnancy, and because of who the father is. It's someone kind of embarrassing, and so some problems arise because of that, and he takes a part in dealing with them, but really Sharon is the one who deals with it.
Yeah.
His conflict is in understanding and supporting his daughter.
Because, like, this is... Because you mentioned it's kind of embarrassing. Because, like, this is, like, a difficult situation for everyone to be in, like, especially Sharon. And what, like, Jimmy Sr.'s trying to do is trying to figure out, like, how to be a good dad when... like, your daughter is going through a, like, kind of troublesome pregnancy and she won't say who the father is.
Yeah. He's having a lot of trouble understanding the situation, and he loves Sharon, but he doesn't know how to support her or what she needs, and he's trying to figure that out.
And from what you said, it's like she actually is doing a pretty decent job of, like, supporting herself. It's just that problems come up that she needs help dealing with.
Yeah. And Sharon is almost, she's almost an action hero. Like she's a very tough person, in a way that Jimmy Sr. is really not in that book. I think possibly the best encapsulation of his predicament in the book, it comes very early on. It's in the opening scene. And it's shortly after she said she's pregnant, and there's kind of silence in the room. That they've talked about a few of the obvious things, like who's the father, I won't tell you, or whatever. And he's like, you have to tell us. And she's like, well, no. And so all the basics have been dealt with, and he sits there, and he says, do you want to keep it? And he says it. This is one of the few times a dialogue line is described. It says, it was something he'd heard on TV or something.
Yeah.
It's like, it's something they always said on TV when someone was pregnant. Because the Rabbits are a very sort of traditional 80s Irish family. Abortion is completely beyond the pale. It's not as though they're actually considering it as an option. Just says it because he's heard it on TV and he doesn't know what else to say.
It's like, it's such an alien situation for him that he has no idea what to do, so he kind of falls back on, like, what he's heard.
Yeah. He has a very little conception of the situation. It's not something that he's prepared to deal with because he's such a masculine guy and it's such a feminine situation.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm like, I kind of like stories that go into more like mother-son or father-daughter relationships, just like sort of, one side of like the family trying to deal with the other side of like, the father trying to deal with more feminine problems or the mother trying to deal with more masculine problems. And it's like, I think that's why it's sort of like interesting and why I personally haven't seen it done as much.
Yeah.
And why I think the premise is like kind of interesting. It's like, a man's like daughter is pregnant and like as she really does everything she can to cope with it and do her best job of like making everything work, he's doing the same, but he has far less of an idea of what to do or what to say or what's even going on with her body. Like, he has no idea. Yeah,
in fact, that's, speaking of not really knowing what's going on with her body, one of the kind of, it's both a literal and allegorical event. This often happens in books where a character will, like a character who's finding their religion will, like, dramatically go to church. And it's like, well, this is literally an expression of them going to church and connecting with their religion, but it also symbolizes it. He goes to the library and he gets a book about pregnancy and its effects. And he's reading along. And there's this great gag that happens like 5 or 6 times where he'll say something like, it's in like, he'll be like, it's in the 16th week. He's like, let me know if you're having any swelling, and she's like, "Fuck off, Dad." Like, she finds it kind of annoying, but he's kind of trying to be like, "Do you need, it says here that you might, like, start craving green vegetables or something." Like, he's just kind of meekly trying to understand whatever is happening physically to her at that stage, and she's like, "Screw off!" Like,
yeah, and that's like,
what are you reading that book for?
I kind of
She's
like,
like, "Give me that."
I kind of like that. It's like it's like bumbling dad behavior, but it's like in a very realistic kind of way.
Yeah, he's a good guy deep down, and he's trying to help. So yeah, that is, and it's quite kind of remarkable to me that The Snapper was written by a man. I started thinking this like halfway through. Like, this is an interesting thing for like, it seems to me more like the kind of book, the kind of idea that would occur to a woman to write about.
And that's I was kind of even thinking that, where I was saying to myself, like, it's kind of cool that, like, this book is being, like, that this book about a very kind of feminine problem is being written by a guy, and, like, sometimes that kind of thing worries me a little bit, because, like, sometimes, like, unless one side has a really good understanding of the problem, it can come off as, like, I don't know, preachy, but it's more like sort of writing a book about a problem that you literally have no experience with and could basically physically have no experience with.
Yeah. I'll tell you that my mother has had five children, 4 pregnancies, because twins.
Yeah.
And is kind of obsessive about babies and pregnancy. She's very interested in other people's pregnancies and in other people's babies. Basically, as soon as anyone in our, even distantly connected to our social circle, gets pregnant, a siren goes off in my mom's head, and she immediately knows about it and is very interested in the pregnancy and the babies, and she loved The Snapper and thought it was great.
Did she read it before you did? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so this is a collection my mother got me to fulfill this item on my wish list. These are books she liked. So insofar as I have met a pregnancy expert in my life, it is my mother, and she loves this book and thinks it's great. And thinks it has a great depiction of what pregnancy is like. That's great. We managed not to reveal anything more than halfway through the book.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's only the first half. All that stuff I said, all that interesting stuff, that's just the first half. The book gets a little crazy in the second half. The Snapper might be the one that gets the furthest away from ordinary slice of life events. Some of the stuff that happens in The Snapper is a little bit crazy. Not like terrorists show up with machine guns, but there is some like thriller style plotting. There are some pretty dramatic, kind of melodramatic, kind of heightened reality things going on. In case you haven't realized yet, nobody dies in Barrytown. I'm not going to bother saying, tiptoeing around the idea that Sharon is still alive in the van, Jimmy Sr. is still alive in the van, nobody dies. It's not that kind of book. Nobody gets shot or mutilated or anything. It's not violent.
Yeah. But it gets, like, weird.
Not even really weird. It's just things happen in The Snapper that are more dramatic and more thrilling than would probably shake out. Like, in maybe not quite a soap operatic way, but there's like, like interesting things happen. It's not just, because there are books where almost nothing happens, like especially like interwar period, like Edwardian era fiction. You just kind of show up and you watch a lot of people talking and something happening, and then you just kind of go home. The Snapper, especially in kind of its middle third, picks up and has some sort of action to it. This episode might run a little long because we're 58 minutes in and we haven't even really gotten to the van. In the way that the commitments, all these books are about relationships. They're about relationships between people. And the commitments is about the relationships that exist between the members of a band. And the Snapper is about the relationship between a father and a daughter. And the van is about a relationship between 2 friends. Yeah. It's about friendship. So
that's actually kind of interesting, where it's like it's sort of like like the 3 sort of main I guess it's kind of cool that each book focuses on a different kind of relationship. Yeah. Professional, familial, and friendship.
Yeah. And I also think it's interesting because if I had to name like what are the three most explored relationships in fiction? I would say probably in order: husband and wife, father and son, teacher and student. And none of the books are about that.
Yeah.
They're all about kind of unusual focuses, right? Band member and band member, father and daughter, and not just friend and friend, but like
Friend and acquaintance.
or like lower class middle aged men being friends.
Yeah.
Like most books about friendship are either about guys in the military who are friends or like upper middle class women who are friends.
Yeah, or like 12-year-old boys who are friends.
Yeah, or 12-year-old boys who are friends. You don't often get like, I mean, I'll just say, but by the time the van starts, Sharon's baby has been born. It is, I don't remember how old it is. It talks, but not in sentences. I think it's either one or two. So, I mean, it's a friendship between a guy who's a grandfather, old enough to be a grandfather, and his drinking buddy, who I think is about his age. They're both like 50.
Yeah, and I thought that was kind of interesting when he told me about it. It's like, yeah, this like whole book is about two just middle-aged guys, with a crazy dream.
Yeah, and their crazy dream is to make money off of a fish and chips van. And like the commitments is about the conflict between personal and professional relationships, that is also sort of what happens in the van. Bimbo and Jimmy are very good friends, but the van kind of comes between them, and it both brings them together and splits them apart. It changes the nature of their relationship. It is an altering influence. It's a catalyst. It's not necessarily without, because it would be spoilers to say what its ultimate effect is. That's much more than halfway through.
Yeah.
But by 140 pages in, it's like a rock heaved into a pond, stirring up all the dirt at the bottom and putting ripples through it. It changes this friendship that has stayed the same for many years.
Yeah, it's like, and it's kind of like, I don't know. I mean, well, this sounds like a very basic thing, because I feel like this is what most stories are about, but like, it sounds like all three of these books, one of the main themes is like, how do real people react to major changes in the status quo?
Absolutely. Yeah. And in fact, I would say it's even more about how do relationships react to major changes in the status quo.
Yeah.
Like, Jimmy Sr. has been Sharon's father for 19 years. And now suddenly the situation has changed.
Yeah, now suddenly quite literally everything is different.
Yeah, once she's pregnant, their simple father-daughter relationship that has carried on in an easygoing fashion for a long time has to change and react to this kind of strange situation.
Yeah.
That's why I say this show is these books are kind of like a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
TV shows are often about people who have pretty stable relationships, but who in each episode or in each season have to deal with some intrusion into their lives. We get the impression that Jerry and Kramer have been friends for years and years, but now suddenly Kramer is, I don't know, stuck in a pyramid scheme or something, and
or he bought some clothes with moths in them or something.
Yeah, some ridiculous thing has happened is the point. Or I'd analogize it to Community, except that Community deals with even more absurd intrusions. Community is like, how does a group of college friends react when they get kidnapped by a drug cartel? And then it's like, and now how do they react when, one of them goes into an apoplectic fit of fury over her 17th purple gel pen being stolen? Like, there's an episode of Community where literally the plot is that every single time Annie buys a purple gel pen, it goes missing when she's with the rest of the main cast. And it's happened 7 times. And she's like, nobody's leaving this room until we find out who has it.
Yeah.
It's one of the best episodes of that show. But the experiences in the Barrytown trilogy are more like the experiences people really have. Starting a band, getting pregnant, starting a small business.
Yeah.
These are things regular people do.
Especially, it all feels very, small town.
Yeah, I don't know if it is a small town. I think it's more like a small city. we're recording this podcast in Durham. I kind of get the impression that it's like Durham, like kind of a small city, large town size.
Durham's like medium town.
Is it a medium? Whatever.
From what I've seen anyway.
So the van changes the nature of the friendship, and it brings these guys into conflicts they haven't had before.
Because like they're in a, it's kind of an interesting version of the first book. It's like, you know, the first book is like, can these business partners become friends? And then the third book is, can these friends become business partners?
Yeah. So I'm trying to come at this from an angle where I don't have to go through spoilers to talk about anything at all. Mm-hmm. But I would say the central conflict is that Bimbo is really the main guy of these two. Even though Jimmy Sr. is the viewpoint character, Bimbo is more important to this van business. It's his idea to buy the van. He's the one who sees it. He's the one who pays for it. Mm-hmm. He lets Jimmy in on the ground floor. He does a little something for his friend.
Yeah.
There's a a great scene where Jimmy has just helped push the van to Bimbo's house. Mm. And at this point, I think they have not even considered doing it as a partnership together. Bimbo is like, I'm going to get this van, and Jimmy's like, are you crazy, you know? And Bimbo, so Jimmy's job is a plasterer, which we have plasterers here, but that in England and Ireland, the term is also essentially used to mean like construction worker. He builds houses.
Yeah.
Bimbo's a baker. So he has some understanding. I think that's why, it's never said explicitly, I think that's why he's the one who comes up with the idea of becoming a chipper.
He already has some kind of idea of like how to work a deep fryer or something.
Yeah. That's what it's called, a chipper, is the person, it's both a term for the van and the people who work in it, is a chipper. Mm-hmm. So I think the only reason he even really tells Jimmy about it is he needs someone to help him push the van home.
Yeah.
And so they push the van home in a very unpleasant scene. Jimmy's whole family helps out. They all like come out. They like make a day of it.
I mean, I think that's like a very nice like little bit of family like stuff in between.
Yeah, it's a cute little scene. And one of the critical facts about the van is that it's absolutely filthy. It is black with grease. It's covered in grease inside and out. It's a disgusting, disgusting van.
And it's like the middle of summer.
I don't know if it's the middle of summer. I think it's like spring, but and Ireland doesn't. I mean, Ireland has summer, but I think the seasons are a bit blunter edged in Ireland than in America. It doesn't get as cold in the winter or as hot in the summer.
Yeah.
It's just kind of always raining and 50 degrees.
Yeah.
Like I think they mention it's like 40 degrees in May or something. It's kind of just in April or something, whatever.
I mean, 40 degrees in April sounds kind of common here too.
It's not called forecast anything lately.
Yeah.
We're about books. We're not a meteorological podcast.
But
we could be. That'll be our spin-off.
Yeah.
Precipitate anything lately.
Yeah. What does the weather look outside? Oh, look, there's clouds.
Yeah.
All right, let's see out of it.
So, what was I saying? Oh, so at that point, there's this great exchange where Bimbo says, hey, Jimmy, he's like, but Jim, pal, my friend. He's like, do you want to get in on this chipper fan thing? I think they go for drinks. That's what happened. They push it over and they want nothing more in the world than a beer. So They go to their favorite bar and they both get a beer. And over the beers, Bimbo's like, Jimmy, do you want in on the ground floor? He's like, and Bimbo has already paid the entire upfront cost for this van. And Jimmy's reaction, and this is an example of Roddy Doyle's masterful dialogue writing, because Jimmy's response is, I wouldn't have to clean it, would I? But it's so clear that he's being sarcastic. That he's saying, of course I will help you clean it if I'm going to be in on this process.
Yeah, I wouldn't have to clean it, would I?
Yeah, because I think he's like, Bimbo, that'd be great. And then after they have a few lines of dialogue about that, I think it says he puts on this big shocked expression. He's like, I won't have to clean it, will I? And Bimbo's like, you asshole, and like hits him on the arm. And it's like, yeah, he's gonna, and they spend like 5 pages just cleaning the grease off this van.
Oh.
And I think you could get into symbolism slash literalism about the idea that there's two big things that have to be done before this van can be even considered for business. One, it has to be purchased, and two, it has to be gotten into good shape.
Yeah.
And that Jimmy is not a part of the first step, but he is a part of the second one.
Like he doesn't really get the business part, but what he does get is, how to work a hose or how to work how to use a sponge.
Yeah, the scraper. There's so much scraping in that part of the book, like a putty knife, and he's just like, yeah, it's really gross. It's well done. There's a lot of the whole family in this one, even more so than in The Snapper. His little kid, his 10-year-old son, I think they pay him to help clean. Once the van is operational, Sharon works in it. She brings the baby. She has the baby sitting there on the counter or whatever while they're making the fish and chips. And I know we are getting low on time, but we'll wrap up pretty soon. So the basic conflict of the van is that Jimmy feels that Bimbo is pushing him out of the business, that he's getting muscled slowly out by Bimbo and Bimbo's wife, Vera. He is afraid that he is being relegated to an employee rather than a business partner.
Yeah, he's sort of worried that when Bimbo offered him the job, he wasn't offering him a position by his side. He was like, "Hey, I need a grunt worker, and you're the best guy I know for it."
Well, and because they start out definitely business partners. They split. Neither of them is working for wages. They split the money 50-50, just all the profits, because they are successful. That's they are immediately quite successful.
Well, yeah, because they moved into a niche that no one was operating in.
They fill the niche, but Bimbo and Vera Reeves are they work better with each other than either of them works with Jimmy.
Yeah.
And they both because once Bimbo starts consulting Vera and making her part of the business, Jimmy's like, there's a point shortly after they clean the van where they're deciding exactly what they're gonna sell and for how much money. And what brand of burgers, because they're just buying burger patties and frying them in oil. It's not like they're slaughtering the cattle themselves. They're literally buying patties from the grocery store.
Yeah.
And they're deciding which brand they're gonna use, and this is where it starts, because Bimbo consults Vera and Jimmy. Jimmy's there, and so are several other people, but that's the moment that the crack in the lute is perceived. That these are all kind of books about the crack in the lute.
Or Jimmy Sr.'s he went to his wife instead of his business partner about what to do with the business.
Yeah, and he's like, at what point
does that stop being reasonable?
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. Jimmy Sr. is not sure if he's being reasonable.
Yeah.
Which is it's an interesting conflict to have a character who does not like something, who objects to something.
But they're not sure if, are they just, even there, am I just being petty? Is this normal?
Yeah. And as Vera's influence over the business increases, and as Bimbo, because another part of it is that Bimbo kind of deserves to be in charge. He bought the van, and
this was his idea.
This is his idea. And he does a lot of the he does probably a lot more of the work, really. They both work in the van. They both make the food. That's shared equally, or even Jimmy is doing more. But Bimbo is handling and fronting the cost for a lot of the stuff of branding and marketing, and again, he bought the van. It was his idea.
Yeah.
And so there's this feeling of how much do Bimbo and Vera deserve to kind of muscle Jimmy out of this business?
Yeah, it's and I think that's actually kind of an interesting conflict that, again, I haven't really seen much, is a character who is sort of a bit bitter or a bit upset about something, but they themselves recognize right off the bat, is this really something I should be worried about? Am I just being petty? is this really something that I need to be nervous about? I mean, this makes sense. Like, but if this makes sense, then why do I still feel kind of like, concerned or bitter about it?
Yeah. There's a great line where we see inside Jimmy Sr.'s head where he's thinking about Vera, and he thinks the problem is. This is interesting. This is what he assesses as the problem. The problem is that she isn't pushy or a Hitler or anything. That's the problem. I don't remember the second half of that sentence, but the idea that the problem is that she's not a jerk.
Yeah, the problem is that she's a pretty decent, nice person, and like he almost feels it's sort of like, and that's actually I think that's actually a really interesting feeling to explore in kind of detail because that's a feeling that I feel like a lot of people have had at one point is like feeling upset about something, but almost feeling bad for being upset.
Yeah.
Or it's like you realize that this is something that like it makes sense, it's reasonable, but like you still feel kind of petty about it and you realize how selfish you're being, but you don't know how to stop feeling that way. And it's a very complex feeling.
Yeah. And this is it reveals this attitude of Jimmy. We see it in the Snapper, and in the van. But so Jimmy Senior he's kind of like Oobleck. If you hit Oobleck with a hammer, it will rebound on you so hard that the hammer will fly out of your hand.
Yeah.
But if you just push your hand through it, you can do whatever you want. You can just push your hand right through. That's kind of Jimmy. Like without again giving spoilers, in the Snapper, he is able to meet strong disrespect and strong resistance with, a strong response.
Yeah.
But in the van, that's his problem, is that he's not being particularly disrespected. No one's being rude to him, especially not Vera, who is... The book doesn't have a villain, but if it does, it's basically Vera, at least from Jimmy's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
She's just kind of slowly and politely doing things that he doesn't really think she should be allowed to do, and so he can't really respond to that.
Yeah.
He has no response to a moderate situation.
The conflict of the book is that it doesn't really have a villain, and the main character doesn't know how to deal with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he's used to kind of there always being, like, someone he's gotta, say some foul things to, and somebody, might have to, deck in a bar fight, but, like, in this case, it's just him being politely, quietly, muscled out of a position that even he sort of doubts he should have been in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's like, how does someone with such strong reactions to stuff react to, like, this kind of normal thing happening?
Yeah. It would be great to have Jimmy Sr. in the house if you were going to be robbed, but useless if you had a noise complaint.
Yeah. He's like, well, I mean, is that really something we should worry about?
It's nice music.
Yeah, they're probably doing their own thing over there.
So, that's the Barrytown trilogy. 3 books, all about a family, and all about relationships between people, and how they can be threatened, and how they hold together, and how they fall apart. All written in Ireland, set in the 80s, and written in the 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anything else we want to get to before we close up this episode?
I think I don't know, like, when reading this book, and I think I mentioned this to you earlier, I mean, maybe it's just kind of part of the genre, but I guess when you're telling me about it, I got kind of reminded of, there's a book that came out recently. It got adapted into a movie starring Cillian Murphy, Small Things Like These.
Oh yeah, Small Things Like These. Yeah, it is a bit like Small Things Like These.
Small Things Like These, though, it has a more firm, solid plot where there's like a clearly defined problem.
Yeah. So, for those of you unfamiliar, Magdalena laundries were a form of legalized slavery in Ireland that went from, I think, about the 1890s to about the 1990s.
Yep.
Where fallen women, as they were called,
like women who got pregnant out of wedlock or something.
Were essentially enslaved to do laundry and cleaning work.
As, like, penance for their sin.
Yeah. Overseen by orders of nuns.
Mm-hmm.
And the story is about Bill Furlong, he's in some ways similar to Jimmy. He's like Jimmy without the whimsy.
Yeah.
He's not funny, and he doesn't say funny things, and
Sad.
he's not loud and expressive.
Sad Jimmy.
Yeah. because Jimmy Senior is kind of the idealized Irish man. He's a drinker but not a drunk. He drinks a lot, but he's not an alcoholic. He really could stop anytime he wants. He has the gift of gab. He's a very good speaker, very good banterer. He's very funny. He loves his football. He loves his family. He loves sleeping with his wife. He's just an all around kind of.
You'd love to know him.
Yeah, he's kind of like the Sam the Eagle of Ireland. Like he's kind of got a beneficently stereotypical attitude.
Yeah.
And Bill is kind of like that as well, but without any whimsical attribute. He's just kind of a good, solid man, you know. And
again with the Richard Nixon voice.
Yeah. And so he sort of meets a woman who's in a Magdalena laundry. Magdalena, I never know how to pronounce that word. I think it's properly Magdalena, but everyone says Magdalene or something.
Yeah.
It's named for Mary Magdalene, the prostitute who
was
follows
like
Jesus around.
Yeah, was like one of Jesus' most devout followers.
Yeah, sort of. It basically goes Jesus, Peter, Mary.
Yeah.
Is that the Mary in Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Me?
I mean, I know it's not literally her, but because
Me.
Peter and Paul are both big disciples of Jesus.
I mean,
Well,
maybe?
Paul's not a disciple, but whatever.
I mean, I don't know if it's like that Mary or if it's like, Mary, like Jesus' mom. Like, I don't know if that makes sense. Any of those.
The point is that he becomes increasingly close with this girl, in kind of a fatherly or avuncular way.
Yeah, like sort of taking her in, like protecting her, and
Yeah.
like sort of questioning his faith when he realizes like what's going on in that laundry. He's like, wait a minute. I don't think this isn't right.
Yeah.
But this is what I've been taught. But they're clearly abusing this girl for like a problem that when I really think about it, I don't really like. I don't want to say like care much about, but like this doesn't really bother me as much as it bothers them. It more bothers me that they're treating her this way.
Yeah. And so that book it has some similarities. It's similarly Irish. That, as I said, there's kind of an Irish writing style. Not all Irish people write in this style, but sort of an extremely heavy reliance on extremely good dialogue and very little narration. And I think that comes from Irish culture. Not like folklore, but I mean literally like just the culture and etiquette that governs how people interact every day.
Yeah.
Puts a very heavy emphasis on verbal ability. And self-expression and banter and that kind of thing. If you've ever noticed, I'm about to engage in some benign stereotyping. Every single funny comedian in the history of the United States has been Jewish, Black, or Irish. Mm-hmm. All of them. And it's because those three subcultures put a very strong emphasis in America, and in some cases in their home countries, on verbal ability, in a way that other ethnic groups in America just don't. Like, we're both, you're Jewish, right?
Yeah.
I'm sort of more Anglo-Saxon. I'm a filthy Dutch squarehead.
Yeah. Filthy little tulip muncher. Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a filthy windmill hanger, and the point is that the Anglo-Saxon, the sort of baseline American culture doesn't have that as much. There's not as much of an emphasis on self-expression.
Yeah.
But in Irish and Jewish and Black communities, there's a very heavy emphasis on the ability to express yourself. And to speak well.
Yeah.
And so that is why, again, every funny comedian in the history of America has been Jewish, Black, or Irish.
And I think that makes sense. It's like when you grow up in a community where self-expression is incredibly important to like maintaining your sort of cultural and social identity, then it sort of makes sense that, like, I mean, I've always kind of thought that, like, comedy is one of the ways in which people, like, of all stripes can, like, kind of get to know each other.
Yeah.
Like, comedy is like comedy unites people. Like, some people, there are, of course, like cultural differences, but like if something is funny, it doesn't matter who you are, you're probably gonna laugh.
Yeah. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so Irish authors often have a big focus on dialogue. Not always. Oscar Wilde and Lawrence Stern, for example, both have a lot of narration and a lot of description and don't focus. Oscar Wilde uses a lot of dialogue and a lot of narration. Lawrence Stern does not convey a lot through. His dialogue is more like Jane Austen. Very good, but not very realistic.
Yeah.
So it's not universal, but Claire Keegan, who wrote Small Things Like These, like Roddy Doyle, has very simple, very plain, very direct narration, and focuses almost entirely on what can be done with dialogue and conversation.
And I think that's honestly something worth. I mean, everyone has their own styles, but I honestly think something like that is something like worth kind of aspiring to, or at least like if you're an author, an aspiring author, like trying to write like if you at least want to practice kind of writing a short story in that more dialogue heavy description, sort of slim on descriptions, but like with a lot of dialogue. I think like anyone could try their hand at replicating that. Like it's I think a good style to try at least once.
Yeah.
Because like dialogue is one of the most, in my opinion, dialogue is one of the most important things about like writing a novel. Like,
Yeah.
you can, because with like a TV show or a movie or like a video game or whatever, you could theoretically do stuff like, there are shows and movies that are like praised for like not really having much dialogue and doing a lot with like, doing a lot with sort of the cinematography and the characters and the facial expressions. With books, you can't really do that. You can try to write a book with no dialogue, but it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it would be hard.
It's a Herculean task. You need at least a little bit in there.
But yeah, so definitely if you're trying to learn good dialogue writing, study Roddy Doyle, study Elmore Leonard, who I think has some Irish in him, I'm not sure. Whether he does or not, he's a great writer of dialogue. And the Irish authors and Irish comedians, George Carlin is a great way to learn how to put one word after another. We've taken that detour that I did want to get to into sort of the Irish style and how being Irish affects how Roddy Doyle writes.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to get to?
I mean, I think I've said everything.
All right. Yeah, this has been our mightiest episode yet. We've got, this episode is probably about as long as the movie version of The Commitments.
I mean, I think our general limit of the past has been an hour and a half.
Yeah. All right. Well, this has been the Barrytown Trilogy episode of Read Anything Lately. I've been Isaac.
And I've been Jason.
And what do I say at the end of the episode? I say something, don't I?
I think you say, like, goodbye or something.
Okay, yeah. Well, okay, whatever. Goodbye.
Bye.